Hello and good evening to you. I'm very sorry for the awful lighting. It's absolutely appalling. Um, it's absolutely useless. But are any of you there? Hopefully, there's one of you there. So, hello to Lisa. Yes, hello, Lisa. I'm very sorry you can't see me. The lighting is appalling. Um, I'm not going to explain why. We've had yet another awful day, and it's been an absolute mess. I'll soon be out of this place because, frankly, that's what I wish to do. I've had enough. Absolutely had enough. And after Saturday's incident, things can't go on forever, can they? So anyway, welcome to you all. I would say thank you all for coming along. Thank you, Andrea. Yes, Andrea Bono. Hello. I'm not going to be doing this for long because I'm not really in the mood to be doing this today. I've been put in a very bad mood by someone, and it's not very pleasant. Good evening to Keely. I hope you can all cheer me up because I need it after what's happened. Expialidocious, hello, yes, and hello to Cult Television, wonderful Cult Television. We know who you are. Yes, Enigma. Hello, Chili Karen. You know, when you have to be in the company of someone for 24 hours a day and their behavior becomes erratic, it's very embarrassing. That's how it is. I don't really want to talk about it, but I'm not in a very good mood. I'm very sorry. I really don't want to do this for very long, so I won't be doing it for very long. There we are. So yes, there's a couple of topics to talk about this evening. Let's begin with some of your questions. So let's have those, and then we'll have a quiz as well, and we'll do a couple of different topics. So if you have any questions to begin, I will happily answer them. I'm sorry about this appalling lighting. It's the worst ever. It looks absolutely terrible, and my hair looks a complete mess, and I look a complete mess, but I feel a complete mess after the situation I've had to just endure. So there we go. Very disappointed in that situation. What is my favorite brandy? Ask. I don't have a favorite brandy. I'm not really a brandy drinker, but I don't have favorite anything. I much prefer whiskey, and tonight I'm having a famous grouse because I really feel the bloody need. After what I've just had to endure, I really needed a whiskey, to be honest. So I'm going to drink the bottle of whiskey tonight. That's what I'm definitely doing. There we are. So, yeah. There we are. Sam, there's not much left in the bottle, to be honest. Sam Daniels, yes, easy rude boy. Well, that's a funny thing to say, but thank you. Right, more questions, please. Please bring the questions in before the viewers start arriving. We're getting more and more of you. Very nice to have you all here. And I shall be looking forward to broadcasting from other places soon because I shall be returning, I think, to the UK. I think that's my next plan. I really have had enough. That is what I wish to do. So anyway, yeah, you hope things improve. Well, things won't improve in this situation, that's for sure. There we go. Anyway, I really thank you all for your kind support. You were all very tolerant of Saturday night's awful activities, and I thank you for your comments about that. So there we are. Right. Anyway. Right. I won't be answering that question. No. What's one thing you're proud of accomplishing? I would say helping to expose Ghislaine Maxwell's criminality and lies to the FBI, for example. Right. Am I familiar with Derek Rose, the brand? I don't know Derek Rose, the brand. No, I don't know that brand. Am I from an aristocratic family? No, that's not the case. No. Right. Can someone else come on live? No, because I haven't got this thing called StreamYard and I can't put other people on it. So no. Um, once I get established more with my technical assistants, yes, we can probably do the StreamYard system. But I don't know how to do it because I have no technical knowledge. I don't know anything about technology. I cannot figure out the even way of turning on half the sound on this damn thing without being told how to do it. So no, I don't know how to do bringing other people on the screen. No, I can't do that. There we go. Right. Is the movie industry dead or are movie houses on their last legs? Well, there was a very fascinating radio segment about the how AI is changing everything and how drama is overfunded and there isn't enough funding into documentaries the other day on the radio, and I was very interested to hear this because lots of these creative people have lost their jobs and some of them have killed themselves and some of them have gone over the edge. And frankly, when you're at your last legs and you don't know what to do, people do strange things. So no, it's a shocking state of affairs. How would I describe my work? Where did I begin? I began working with a man called Maurice Canbar, who invented Sky Vodka. He created the Defuzit sweater comb, the needle to remove cataracts, all sorts of other things. He was based in San Francisco, and he had an office in London, and I ran his office in London. We had a chocolate liqueur called Vermeer, which was made in the Netherlands, named after the Dutch artist. The picture on the bottle was the girl with the pearl earring. And yep, we used to sell this chocolate liqueur in everywhere from Partridges of Sloane Square to Blake's Hotel, and all sorts of things were done with that. And Sky Vodka was then sold to Campari, the alcohol house. And after that, I was involved in a gin. The less said of that, the better, because I wasn't a great fan of that particular gin. And then I did my own things. So yeah, that's where I am. Before that, I was at university, London School of Economics. There you go. There's the potted history. And since then, I've done a bit of talk TV and this YouTube and other things. So yeah, I've been involved in an Australian spirits company along the way. They were briefly sold in Waitrose, which was a deal I was involved in. And then, unfortunately, they decided they wanted to focus on selling in China. And then the company was sold to Asahi Beer. So that was the end of that. Right. You're surprised I don't know about the Derek Rose clothing. I don't know about Derek Rose clothing. No, I can't answer your question. Have I heard from Michael Barrymore? No, I have not heard from Michael Barrymore. I don't expect I will, but we did ask. Right, they're doing a new episode of Finding Neverland. What are my opinions of Michael Jackson? I briefly met Michael Jackson once. It was only for a few moments. He happened to be staying in someone I know's house, and he was there with his monkey, and I preferred to talk to the monkey, to be honest. That's how I felt. So I can't tell you any more about him other than he seemed like a childlike figure. And he seemed, utterly odd. Let's be frank. I think the situation that that man grew up in with his wicked parents, if you've got wicked parents, you end up a mess yourself. So it's no wonder people like him end up a mess. They exploited him. The father, well, not the mother, maybe, but in his case, the father was a complete tyrant and a nasty man. So there we go. I'm not going to be bringing anyone else on live in the background, and if anyone else starts speaking in the background, I will end the broadcast. So no, I don't want anyone else in my broadcast today. This is my broadcast. It's my program, and I will do what I want. I don't need other people joining in from the background of this particular house. So that's the end of that. Did I have a drink with the hitch? The hitch. Who's the hitch? I don't know. Barrymore is like a parasite. Yes, we totally agree. Barrymore should have been closed down many years ago. He's a thoroughly awful person. Right. You wanted to ask a question. Can you tell me or tell the audience about you? I know very little, but I enjoy so much. Well, that's very kind of you to say. I don't know. What do you wish to know, High Voltage? Thank you, High Voltage. So please ask a question. I don't know what you wish to know. Will YouTube save the television industry? BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and 5 are full of repeats and bad TV. Yes, I'd agree with you. The general television is a waste of time, but without my VPN, I can't watch the new programs. I'd love to watch the program about Ruth Ellis, for example, which has got Nigel Havers playing his own grandfather, the judge who killed her. Sent her to her death. He had no option but to do that, of course, at that time. But then the law changed, and she was the very last woman ever to be hanged in Great Britain. Chris Hitchens. Okay, well, Chris Hitchens, I had a wonderful evening with Chris Hitchens at a bar called Tosca Cafe in North Beach, San Francisco, which was a bar where they filmed the Basic Instinct sex scene with Sharon Stone on the pool table. It was a haunt of the likes of Sean Penn and many other people. Met many wonderful film people there. And Mrs. Etheridge ran an amazing bar, and she didn't like the smoking ban in San Francisco, so she allowed smoking, which is why people like Christopher Hitchens, I'm sure, were there, because even the mayor of the town at the time, Willie Brown, who was the mayor prior to Gavin Newsom, he liked going there to smoke his cigars, and even he breached his own law, which was a bit wacky, wasn't it? There we go. Right. Yes, so yes, that's how I first met Christopher Hitchens. I was sitting next to him at the bar after a film screening, and I had a very good chat with him. And I talked about his brother, who I'd met whilst I was at university a couple of years earlier at the London School of Economics. And I did think that, Christopher Hitchens was a more logical, thoughtful person than his brother Peter. So, and I still think that, Peter Hitchens is a big apologist for Lucy Letby right now. I'm not a fan of Lucy Letby. I think Lucy Letby deserves to rot in jail. I think Lucy Letby deserves the book throwing at us. So there we are. Anyway, I hope I'm trying to entertain you a bit. I'm not in the mood for doing this. I really shouldn't be doing this because it's not a good idea. The lighting is appalling, and I really don't think I'm coming across very well. So I won't be going on for too long. Have you any more questions? Right. You've spent the days in the garden. Well, that's lovely. Well, I hope you've enjoyed your gardening, Mersey woman. I hope in Liverpool gardening is going well. Right. You like my humor. I love your live, whatever kind of mood you're in. Well, I do apologize. I'm not in a good mood. I'm in a very bad mood. I've had enough abuse for one day, and I'm really, really not in the way of feeling in doing this. So there we go. What's my thoughts on the Gaza aid blockade? Well, I think the Palestinians have rights. I think the Jews have rights. I think everybody should, be good together. As Maurice Kambar once said to a man we met who turned out to be, Al Qaeda. I did meet a member of Al Qaeda with him. You have the right to worship a tree. If you want to worship a tree, worship a tree. That's how the world should think. If you want to be Christian, if you want to be Catholic, if you want to be Anglican, if you want to be Methodist, if you want to be, Palestinian, if you want to be Israeli, if you want to be whatever you want to be what you want to be, but don't inflict your views upon other people. So that's what I feel. There we go. Nigel Havers, what a chancer. I will agree with you, Cult Television, and you know where Nigel Havers used to hang out, La Brasserie. Nigel Havers is a little bit of an oddity, I will say. But, I'd love to see the program, but unfortunately I can't because this VPN system does not work here. So once I'm back in England, I shall be watching. But I can't watch it from here unless somebody miraculously fixes it for me tonight, because that's the only way I could see it if I wanted to see it tonight. So there we go. It's a great shame, and I'm very disappointed. Any news on Kitty? Yes, well, Kitty, the revolting Cliff Richard. Yes, we don't like him. Him and the horrible Cilla Black, apologists for very bad people, associates, creepy Christian crooner, ramming his religion up everyone's bottom is disgusting. No thanks to Cliff Richard. No, don't like him. And I won't go into all the other stuff because, he was cleared allegedly by the BBC. But, seriously, he's a wrong un. I don't like him. And I don't like the vicar. So there we go. Right. Right. Mersey woman makes honey. That's very nice. It's a lovely thing to do. You must have some bees. My friends in Hertfordshire, when I visited them recently, they have a beehive and they tried to do all of this, but it's very complicated. They didn't realize how complicated it was. And I met the gamekeeper of the neighboring estate, which is owned by a very successful property tycoon, and he was busily preparing beehives, and he told me all about the process of how you have to look after the bees in the winter. We didn't realize quite how complicated managing one beehive is, let alone having a whole array of them. And to get a little pot of honey, you need rather a lot of bees. So yeah, if you're making honey, that's an amazing thing. So well done to you. We'd love to know more about your honey. So there we are. Right. Thank you for sharing such a positive story. It cheers us all up in these days of adversity. There we go. Beekeeping is very technical, says Shirley. You're completely right. I didn't realize I had spent some time with beekeepers when I was about 8 years old because I was fascinated by things like this. I love animals and insects and every kind of plants and things like that. So I remember going to some game fair or other or country fair, and I met all these beekeepers, and then they took me on a little lesson. And then round down the road from where we lived was a place where they made honey. So I went to visit there as well. So I've spent some time with all these kind of people, but I didn't realize until this gamekeeper man who was very into this, because I spent more time talking with him lately, I didn't realize how much intensity of care has to go into looking after the bees. So the bees. So what line does that come from? The Wicker Man, the film. The man is murdered by the bees, which is a very strange thing. Of course, that was filmed up in Scotland on a wonderful island. So there you go. The original. The second version with Nicolas Cage, not quite so good. So there we are. Right. Apparently, Bez is a beekeeper. I don't know who Bez is. So Bez, whoever you are, The original is best. Yes, the original in most cases of films are generally the best. So that is a nice thing. Um, they can only travel 3 miles. No, bees travel locally. Hence why, if you have hay fever, one of the best things is a honey from the locality, because it's got the nectar from the locality, and that helps cancel your hay fever. So I've always followed that rule. In London, they even have bees in hives on the roof of Fortnum and Mason. They have their own thing. There's a hotel, the St. Ermines, next to St. James's Park Underground. It was where MI5 were based in the war, on the top floors, and ultimately they found a load of Semtex in the walls in case the Germans had arrived, and they'd just blown up all the papers. But on the roof of there, they have bees. So bees are a fascinating bunch of things. So there we are. Right. Cult television would like some famous grouse. Well, I'm sorry you're not here having famous grouse with me. I miss your company. I miss your visits to Broadstairs and the way you helped me with my programs. Thank you very much, Cult Television. I hope all is well in Canada. So hope to see you again soon. And, maybe in London we'll meet again. We had a wonderful time with Peter Blexley at one of my dinners. I want to do another dinner with Stephen Burkoff if he's available, since I wasn't able to do the last one. And it would be great to see if you could be there, if you could make it from Canada. Kitty, as in the person concerned. Yes, the fake name of the horrible, horrible Cliff Richard when he visited allegedly, the Elm Guest House. There we go. So, no, Cliff Richard is one of the most loathsome people on the planet. Utterly detestable, disgusting, and revolting. Don't like him. Friend of Rolf Harris and Jimmy Savile. Charming people, hey? Lovely club, that lot. Anyway, there we are. So, Max Clifford, you name them all. They were all in the same era, and things went on, and they thought that these things would never be discovered. So some of them did better at getting away with it than others. I'm not suggesting that Cliff Richard did anything, but let's wait till he dies and let's see what happens. That's what I say. Let's wait on him. Yes, that's what Sam Arama says. I think a few things will come out then. So thank you to you. And especially for my friend, there's the famous grouse, just to prove I have some. I very much enjoy famous grouse. Other brands are available, as they say, but there we go. What's my view on Gino De Campo? Gino De Campo, creepy, and he was a robber. He robbed a singer's house of their guitars, and he was sent. He did have a custodial sentence for that. So, right. Do I have super thanks? I believe we have different ways of thanking me. Yes. I don't know how you do it, but there is a technical way. You just press a button or something, and that's very kind. If you want to send high voltage super thanks, I will appreciate super thanks. And then I will, like Nigel Farage does with his Cameo, we can say a super thanks to high voltage. There we go. I don't know what you do, but I'm in the filming area of this, not the viewing area, so I can't look at the way you would do such a thing. I know people press like and they leave comments, and this live chat is different to the other kind of chat. So there we go. That's how it works. Yes, he did rob the home of Paul Young. Yes, that's correct. Um, Kitty, i.e. Cliff Richard, was photographed with Ronnie Cray and Lord Boothby. Yes, the photograph was taken at 1 Eaton Square in London, Belgravia. And whatever he may say, this Cliff Richard was photographed with those people in different outfits, and he claims he only did it once. Well, why was he in different outfits, and why were they in different outfits? So either the camera was faked, the camera was faking it, or he's not telling anything other than porky pies. So let's be honest, Cliffy, you know, come on, man up, grow up, and show up and tell the truth. How much time did you spend with these two degenerate people? You were with the Crays and Lord Boothby, a horrible, horrible man, on a number of occasions. So to say that you only did it once is not true. Your outfit was different. So there we go. What would I like to cook? Right. I like cooking. I like to cook a curry. I love a curry. That's one of my favorite things. I love a bit of spice. Um, a nice pasta dish or a roast chicken or things like that. But simple food, easy peasy. But a bolognese, that's a nice thing to cook. A slow cooker. My slow cooker is my favorite thing, actually, of cooking. It's the best way to cook because then you can enjoy the process and you leave it. And a slow cooker is such an inexpensive thing. You can buy one for 20 odd quid and you can leave it for hours on end and it will feed lots of people. So a slow cooker is a superb way to make anything. And it uses less electricity than your oven. I'm not into air fryers. I've experienced an air fryer now in someone else's house. I think that's one of the most silly devices on the planet. It's wasteful and it's the confines of the lazy and the silly. But I know many people love an air fryer, but I don't like the way the things work, to be honest. I'm not a fan of an air fryer. If I had another cooking device I could have in any home, it would have to be an auger, because an auger, if you know how to use it, is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And, it makes the best toast and all the rest of it, because you can just quickly put something in and it keeps your house warm as well. So an auger is a lovely device. But no, I'm not into the air fryers. As the Blue Nomad says, they're dangerous and toxic. I totally agree with you. I think the air fryer is not a device that should be encouraged in anyone's company. Do I like lobster? I do not mind lobster from time to time, but it's not my go-to thing. Do I like a cat or a dog? It would always be a dog. I don't really care for cats, but whilst I was visiting some people recently, their cat became quite friendly with me, and I quite like the cat. So on occasions, a cat can be very nice. Right. Air fryers are ridiculous. What's the point of frying something in the air? I do tend to agree, high voltage. There's something odd about them. An auger does make a lovely toast. Fresh farm salted butter, it's perfect. Well said, Gary. I agree with you. I hope you have an auger in your home. Shirley Keeler has an auger in her home. A slow oven, shove your meat in there all day and comes out succulent. Yes. And the same with a slow cooker. You can put your things in there and they come out wonderfully. Enigma likes big, fat, hairy cats. Oh, gosh. There we go. Would I put beans on toast? Beans on toast is very pleasant, but you have to add other things. I can't have just the plain way of having it. It's not very exciting. I'd have to add some Tabasco and some herbs and spices and things. I'm not into plain old beans on toast. It's a bit bland. You like President salted butter, and you think it's lovely, says Paulie. I've had that. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely agree. Julie Faulkner loves her slow cooker. Yes, well, we could, do a little segment one day on slow cooking. The things you could put in the slow cooker that are the best. But yes, Jane likes to add to her baked beans grated cheese. Well, that's definitely an option. I don't disagree with the idea. Have I ever been in love? Once, and I won't bore you with the story, but that's how things go. But maybe one day, not for now. No, definitely not. Right. Do I like ham, cabbage, and potatoes for dinner? I've never had ham, cabbage, and potatoes combined. No, that's not something on my agenda. What do I think of John Burko? Right, John Burko. I have met the diminutive little dwarf at Queen's Club Tennis. I was with Gina and Alan Miller, and he was standing around shouting in his phone. That's the only time I've ever encountered him. What do I think of him? He has that strange wife, Sally, who had an affair with his cousin or something. She really did degrade matters by parading around in a bedsheet in Parliament, being photographed. That was very lowbrow. No, John Burko is not someone who I thought was great, but towards the end, he improved. He did have a proper old pop at Brexit, so I'm glad of him for doing that, because Brexit was one of the worst decisions made by anybody in modern history. Shame on David Cameron, the coward, and shame on him for walking away. An absolute piece of toe rag is David Cameron. Cannot stand the little rat. And I told him that to his face. I told him that at a party at Christie's. So, I don't like David Cameron, no. So there we go. Have I ever tasted scouse? I don't know what tasting scouse means, Mersey woman, but what does tasting scouse mean? Scouse is lovely, says Jane Hennessy. I don't know what scouse is, so please could you tell me, because I'm rather immune to scouse. Is that bacon, cabbage, and potatoes? I don't know. Maybe it is. Many of you were talking about it. You had a pan of scouse last week. It was National Scouse Day. I don't know what scouse is. I know what a scouser is. That's a Liverpudlian. It's an Irish stew. Okay, well, so it's made with ham, cabbage, and potatoes. I've never tried scouse, so I have to look up the recipe, won't I? It's not an Irish stew, right? It's like a beef stew, right? I don't know. Scouse is potato, meat, and carrot. I personally haven't ever had a dish called scouse, but I'm not a scouser, so I don't know. I probably wouldn't know about it, would I? I do apologize, but Cult Television, whose grandfather was a famous chef to a certain very significant army person, tells me it's a dish for Norwegian sailors, so I don't know what it is. Right, scouse is really nice stew, and most scousers have their own recipe, says Mersey woman. I use beef and I throw a lamb neck in it. So, right, well, I've never ever tried your recipe. There we go. I'm intrigued to have been educated about what scouse is. Thank you very much for your kind education. Have I had any news from Michael Barrymore?
My mother was a throwful.
No, I'm getting
Stout.
shouting in the background, which I
My
do not
mother was
need.
a
I
throwful.
don't need the shouting
Okay,
in the
my
background.
mother was a throwful, and they ate stout all the time, and it was a beer base.
The person shouting is talking about beer. She's not talking about stew. So
It was beer based.
she's got the wrong end of the stick as usual.
I don't think so.
You talk about food. More interesting with love. Megan was the most ridiculous, narcissistic. I think that the woman is repugnant. Yes, she is repugnant. There we go. The person shouting in the background is going on about stout. We're talking about a stew. So I do apologize for the
My
interruption.
grandmother was a throwful, and she's part of the stout family.
It's nothing to do with the story. The shouting in the background is really becoming irritating.
Well,
And if the shouting continues, I will just end the broadcast because it's absolutely unfair to all of you that we get shouting about
look it up.
nonsense.
Throwful. My mother,
It's
my
nothing to
grandmother was
do
a
with it.
throwful,
It's nothing to
and
do.
they had lots to do with stout.
There is nothing to do with stout in the matter. This is about stew. The stew is made with lamb and
Yeah,
beef and cabbage.
carrots.
Anyway, stewing meat. There we go. Anyway, right. Yes, you could add something to it. Yes, of that type. Right. Right. You make something called lobscours in Wales, which is a lamb stew. Right, there you are. Yes, the person shouting is being very annoying and rude. I totally agree with you, Mary. You know, it's very rude to interrupt my program. I did request at the beginning that we don't need interruption. Right, you could make it in a slow cooker, yes. Right. Can you meet said person? No. Do I like haggis? Yes, I love everything Scottish. Scottish food is superb. Love that. Absolutely into Scottish food. I love a bit of Aberdeen Angus beef. Lovely. For example. How do we find Donald Trump? He's a disruptor. I'm not a fan, but he is shaking up the world. That's all I shall say. I don't really want to get in a debate about that. Do I like a deep fried Mars bar? Um, I've only had it once and I wasn't very excited by it, to be honest.
She likes chocolate.
I don't like a deep fried Mars bar. Um, High Voltage says, I want to meet a Scottish man. You know what I wanted to say. Your show is more interesting than anything I've watched anywhere in a really long time, and I'm completely serious. Well, that's very kind of you to say, but I'm not actually Scottish. I have spent a lot of time in Scotland, particularly in Outnahara, in the Highlands, and in Oban and the surrounding islands in Argyll. I love those places. Edinburgh also. Edinburgh is wonderful. One of the most wonderful cities on the planet. In fact, Edinburgh is the most beautiful city on the planet. There's nothing more you could do to beat a city than Edinburgh because you can be walking down the Royal Mile and then in half an hour you could be walking up, Arthur's Seat and be in the middle of nowhere. So you've got everything in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is a wonderful, wonderful place. It's absolutely sophisticated. It's got fantastic restaurants, some of the best restaurants I've ever been to. Lovely bars, whiskey, lovely, welcoming people. They're happier people in Edinburgh than anywhere I've ever met. People, they smile. They're all happy. I find they're not like the dour Scots of other places, but the Edinburgh is a wonderful, wonderful place. Do I like Stephen Mulhern? No, I don't know who Stephen Mulhern is, so I can't answer your question. I probably should know who Stephen Mulhern is, but I don't. John Miller is Scottish. Yes, it's the Athens of the North. Well said. Well, they could say that of, Oban, and Oban is a lovely place with the fake folly, which is an amazing thing, which was based on, you know, those kind of things of ancient Rome, in fact, more than Athens. But the Blue Nomad loves Oban and Mull. Yes, Mull is a lovely place, but I've only ever passed through it on my way to Iona. We've always had to go to get to Iona. I have to go through Mull because I have to go on the ferry, and then I have to go on the next ferry. So there's 2 ferries. And then we go to Staffa on another boat. So there's 3 boats. It's an amazing journey. I love that journey. And I love the water. It's the nicest water, the most beautiful water in the world. It's so clear. And then you get to Staffa and you get to see the puffins. And I love those beautiful, beautiful birds. And I shall be going there soon because that's where I'm going to go and live. I want to go and live on an island in Scotland, I've decided. I don't know. Everybody thinks I'm mad, but I want to be away from the world. I've had enough of crazy people. I've had enough of angry people. I've had enough of dealing with nonsense. I want to go and be on an island where I can be with some simple people who I can have a proper conversation with and drink whiskey. That's what I want to do. All this white wine, it's driving people mad, and it's not a good idea. White wine is not fine for every day of the week because the acid is very bad for you. This is why these Scottish people, it's why they're a bit more sensible, because they don't have all that acid in them, because all they drink is whiskey. And they cover everything in whiskey, and it's no bad thing. They don't call whiskey the water of life for no reason. Whiskey means the water of life, and it is the water of life. And I think that's one of the best things. There's nothing wrong with drinking wine. I have no problem with it. Absolutely not. The French live on rosé. Yes, the Blue Nomad says. Yes, precisely. But I am more akin to the Scottish way of thinking. Whiskey and water. Lord Deeds, Bill Deeds. I used to sit with him in the Carlton Club. After dinner, we would have a bottle of whiskey. He'd drink everybody under the table, aged 100 and something. And I said, what keeps you young, Lord Deeds? He said, my wife lives in Scotland and I live in Kent. And I drink whiskey. And that's how he will be remembered. The only man to be the editor of a newspaper and a cabinet minister at the same time. Another of Margaret Thatcher's closest associates. An absolutely fabulous person. And whiskey was his way of being. And he didn't care. He quite happily drank the Famous Grouse too. He liked Bell's, in fact. I think he liked Bell's and the Famous Grouse. So there we go. We can all have the fancy whiskey, which we all love. Let's be honest. If you've got a bottle of, Knockandoo in front of you, you're not going to say no, are you? But frankly, I don't mind my everyday whiskey, the Famous Grouse. So that's, for me, a good thing. And I love a gin and tonic, but you can't drink gin and tonics all day long. The tonic water is also too much sugar. Anything with sugar is too much. So you can't have too much sugar. And no, I'm not into low calorie tonic water. I can't drink it. The taste is horrible. My friend John Stoddart, the photographer, he always uses low calorie tonic water, and he makes a very good gin and tonic. But I would prefer the stronger tonic. I prefer the real tonic. I like Schweppes tonic, not Fever Tree. My friend Ronnie Cox, who is a director of Berry Brothers and Rudd, the man who is behind the most wonderful gin in the world, number 3, my very, very go-to gin. He always says, use Schweppes, not Fever Tree. Fever Tree is nothing wrong with it, but it's not really for me. There's another tonic water out there called Double Dutch. And to me, it doesn't have any bubbles in it. It doesn't add. If you're going to have a gin and tonic, you want a bit of space. It's a bit like me having, lemonade that's flat. I don't like flat lemonade. And I tried lemonade here in France. I was ill for a day. It made me feel sick. I don't like the French lemonade. It was weird. It made me actually feel ill. I stupidly drank a pint of it, and I felt ill for nearly 24 hours because I drank this horrible stuff. I've never ever the chemicals in it, whatever is in this horrible lemonade, disgusting, absolutely vile. I'm very particular about food and drink. You have to have knowledge of what you're eating and drinking. And this is why, number 3 gin, the famous grouse, the famous grouse is just a cheap whiskey. Most people will say, oh, you shouldn't be drinking that. Oh, it's not good enough. And there was a man who came to dinner in this very house and he said, oh, really? You're having famous grouse? Really? I think the famous grouse has been around a lot longer than him. So, I don't really care what people think about it. If I'm a bit common, I'm a bit common. Don't care. I like J&B. I don't mind that. I don't mind the Jameson whiskey, whatever. But if I'm offered a very civilized whiskey like the Cardew or the Freud or something of that type, something more peaty, more substantial, I will not say no, of course, because I like those things. But my go-to every day is the famous grouse. So let's grouse about it. We're sticking with the grouse. Lemonade that's never seen a lemon, says John of the French lemonade. Yes, there is something very odd about their lemonade. It's pure chemicals. It's the most sickening thing I've ever tried. And I stupidly necked a pint of it because I was just thirsty in the morning and I wanted something that was cold and it was in the fridge. And as soon as I tried it, I was ill. I couldn't stop being ill for hours. It was horrible. It made me very, very upset. Right. Don't mention Donald Trump as you think highly of him. Right. Okay. Well, lots of people say don't mention Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is the president of the free world. So, of America. And and I'm entitled to say what I wish about Donald Trump as much as anyone. I just said that Donald Trump is a disruptor. I don't know what your problem is. Donald Trump is someone I don't particularly care for, don't particularly like, but I think that he has created some disruption. I'm glad that he's causing annoyance to the woke. I'm glad that things are being discussed, but it doesn't mean I like him. I'm not defending him and I'm not criticizing him. I wouldn't trust Donald Trump because of his involvement with Epstein and Maxwell. Donald Trump and Epstein and Maxwell, Epstein and Maxwell, and I'm going to come shortly to my story of the day. Donald Trump, is about Donald Trump. He cares about himself. He's a self-centered, self-serving He's a profiteer. And the woman shouting in the background should shut her trap because I've heard enough. I don't need to hear any more from people shouting at me. You're interrupting my program. I am here to speak. I'm here not to have interruption. No, I don't want interruption on my program. It is wrong to have interruption, and I do apologize, viewers, for the shouting from the person who should not be interrupting, because she has nothing to contribute to my program. This is my program where I talk about my views, and I don't need other people shouting in the background, especially when we have no lighting. There we are. Anyway, have I ever met Ghislaine Maxwell? Yes, I have met Ghislaine Maxwell. I have been in her presence on a number of occasions. Right. Right. The man's comments at the dinner party were rude. I don't know which dinner party we're talking about. Right. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, if you have any more questions, please throw them at me. You have 11 more minutes for questions, and then I will turn to the topic of the day. So 11 more minutes of questions. Have I heard from Rupert Lowe or Michael Barrymore? No, I haven't been in touch with Rupert Lowe yet. Michael Barrymore has not bothered to reply. There was a person here last night who claimed he was Michael Barrymore, but he hasn't made any form of contact. Have I been to East Neuk in Scotland? No. What do I think of Kanye West? I think he's a repugnant weirdo. Let's be honest. Very odd person. You know, what he does with that woman is sick. Parading her around virtually naked. It's very wrong. You know, what. I think he's entertaining in some ways, but he's rather warped of mind. And, you know, those Kardashians, well, I'll come to my views about that matter also. So, yes, whilst we're thinking of that, right, you want to know if I like a bath or a shower? I would never have a bath. I don't do baths. Men don't do baths. We all prefer a shower. There we go. The Kardashians, yes, I agree with you. Awful people. And of course, right. Sorry about that. I think that the person was responding to me, but there you are, and no need to mention Trump. I didn't mean to offend. No, you're very welcome to mention Trump. I don't have a problem with people discussing Donald Trump. I did not like Joe Biden. I did not like Kamala Harris. I don't like those kind of people, but there we go. So, you're all entitled to have a view. I really don't mind people discussing anything as long as you don't get on to the ghastly Tommy Robinson, Katie Hopkins, and all of that, because that is really not my kind of thing. You know, I have been personally threatened by the EDL, the BNP. I'm not going to go back down the route of getting involved in that when I had security guards looking after me, because that was a danger to my life, and I don't want my life put back in danger, because it was very scary to have the concept of people throwing acid in my face, which is what they promised to do. They promised to throw acid in my face, and that's why I always walked around wearing sunglasses, and I had these silly bodyguards, which my friend at the time kindly gave me, and cars to take me everywhere. And I wasn't meant to go out, and I wasn't meant to do this, and I wasn't meant to do that. I'm not going to be going back into the world of being scared about acid, because acid is a really bad thing. If you have acid thrown in your face, you look at that poor young lady who had acid thrown in her face, and look, thank God she rebuilt her life. But no, nobody needs to go into that world. And the EDL, the BNP, they are disgusting, filthy people. They're racists, they're filth, and they're scum. And I had to experience the horror, and I was warned. You know, you have to sit at. I had to sit in a certain place, and if I went to a restaurant, I couldn't sit with my back to the door, for example, because then I couldn't see them. You know, everything was trained. I was trained for the situation. I know how to survive such a thing. But if these horrible people come after someone else, that's wrong. So I don't want to go through that again. So there we are. Yeah, you can't imagine being threatened, says Carol. Yeah, I had regularly I was told they would kill me. It was a lovely situation, and the Metropolitan Police were involved. There were regular threats on my life. You know, I was told we have seen you in this place, that place, and the other, and we will get you. I also had an attempt on my life in a restaurant um, by a person who I won't mention his name because I don't want to promote him. He put his hands around my neck and tried to strangle me in the doorway of a restaurant. That was a totally unconnected matter. In life, when you speak out, you do tend to get follow up, and there are lunatics out there, and this lunatic is still being a lunatic, as we all know from the program the other evening. So I'm not going to promote him by mentioning his name because that only encourages him. But there is a community order against him. He has a criminal conviction for what he did to me. The Viscount St. David's has a criminal conviction. The Viscount St. David's was jailed for the reward he offered on my life and Gina Miller's life. He was sent to prison, and then he tried to appeal, and he was told if he continued his appeal, he'd get a longer sentence. So he shut his mouth. And, this is a man who had a dog called Hitler. He's disgusting. He's a piece of filth. He's a piece of scum. I don't know where he lives. He used to live in Pont Street, Knightsbridge. He's a revolting con man, and he's disgusting. And I don't care. Come on, Viscount St. David's. You come and have another go at me if you so want. But you're not going to do it again via the internet because you were so thick. You did it on Facebook, you silly little twat. You're an absolute village idiot. And I am not scared of you. And as Judge Arbuthnot, Lady Arbuthnot said to you, you did it at 8 in the morning and you blamed it on drink. So were you drunk at 8 in the morning? That's a very early time to start, mate. There we go. So, no, I'm not scared of the bigoted, racist Viscount St. David's or the other person who I won't be naming because he's a right old troll. He'll be back in the room. The Viscount St. David's probably has the good sense to keep away from me, even though he does speak at the bigoted, racist, Traditional Britain group, which is another racist organization. I don't like racism. Racism has no place in anywhere that I ever exist. I don't want a racist in my room. I don't want a racist near me. Racism is sick. It's wrong and appalling. Have I met Madonna? No, I've never met Madonna. I have met Guy Ritchie's family. They're lovely people, but I've never met Madonna. No, I've never met Guy Ritchie personally. Changing the topic to something completely different. Right. What is the main ideology, as it were, surrounding French food? L'escoffier, I believe, is the typical way of cooking French food. I believe that's what they're into. There we go. Right. High Voltage says, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's very kind of you to encourage further people to join us. You're all very, very nice. And we've got Elaine Harvey here. We love Elaine Harvey. Lovely person. You're no relation of Jan Harvey of Howard's Way, I don't assume. But, right. Carol is living in Texas. We can protect ourselves. Well, yes, you've got lots of guns. I love Texas. I had a wonderful time in Texas as a child. I did get to steal a few cacti, which I smuggled back to the UK. They're now in, of all places, the Orkney Islands, because I gave them to my school friend who was a little obsessed, and he now lives there. So he is growing Texan cacti in that very island. So there we go. I probably shouldn't admit to this because it was a criminal offense to steal them, and it was a criminal offense to put them in towels because I got rather into trouble for wrapping them up in towels and other things from a hotel, and when the bill was delivered, the questions were asked, put it that way. So, there we go. I have helped a Scottish island gain some Texan cacti. And I love cacti. So the next place I go to live, there'll be lots of cacti because that's what I'd love to have because they are lovely things and they're beautiful. Have I ever met Mick Jagger? I have been in the same room as Mick Jagger, but no, I've never personally met him. I had lunch with Bianca Jagger at the London School of Economics. You say he went to LSE many years before you. Yes, he did. But we organised the lunch. I was involved with one of my fellow students. He wanted to have his own version of question time at university. So we used to get people to come along, and one of them was Peter Hitchens, and the other one was Bianca Jagger on one occasion. We had the Hamiltons along. The Hamiltons, thank you very much, Christine. You've been a great support lately. Thank you very much to Christine Hamilton. You've been absolutely lovely. And it's wonderful to be back in touch with you. And I like Christine Hamilton. She's a very kind lady. So I'm not going to say why because it's a private matter, but I think you're great, Christine. So there we go. Have I got any thoughts on 50p Lee? Well, no, he's not called 50p Lee. He's 30p Lee, Stephen. He thinks that people could live on 30p a meal day. He's an absolute moron. 30p Lee has been in the Labour Party first. Then he became a Conservative. Then he became Reform. Can he make his mind up? Labour to the Conservatives to Reform? Really? And he goes around shouting at people. Oh, he's a right old bore. Can't stand 30p Lee. 30p Lee needs locking up. He's a complete loon. 30p loon is what he should be called. Right. Thank you to Christine Hamilton. Yes. That's what I say. Christine Hamilton is an extremely kind lady, a wonderful, dear lady. And what she's done has been fantastic. So I'm saluting her because that is exactly what friends do. She's been a friend of. She gave a speech at my 21st birthday party. She's been a friend of the family for many, 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 many years. I haven't seen much of them in a long time, but we did speak on Saturday, and we had a very nice conversation. And I won't go further into the details because it's a private matter. So there we go. Right. Are the Hamiltons going to come on your YouTube channel? Well, if the Hamiltons would like to, but I think Christine is a little busy with GB News. That's her thing. She's a GB News person. I'm a Talk TV person, so we do different things. But my friend Peter Blexley does GB News and Talk TV, so we'll figure it out. We'll see what happens. But it would be lovely to spend more time with the Hamiltons because they have been they're an absolutely delightful pair. And, the way Nigel Farage treated them, Neil was in charge of UKIP. And that's why, perhaps Neil and Christine and I didn't really keep in touch because we had very differing views on Brexit. That's their view. They're entitled to their view, and I'm entitled to my view. And democracy means, we don't have to do that. But I last saw them at a party for the wonderful Stuart Wheeler, the late Stuart Wheeler, who died, sadly. Stuart wrote a book about his gambling, his spread betting business. He was a brilliant businesswoman, and his lovely daughter, Jaquetta, the model, and my friend Jamie Alsop, who's no longer married to her. He's just launched a pub. He's, the Alsop family, brewery people, and he's just opened a pub in Kensington. I urge you all to go there. It's called the Blue Stoops. It's a wonderful pub in Kensington Church Street. Please go and visit his pub. He's a great friend of my friend William Cookson, who is a lovely artist. We'd love everyone to support William as well and buy William's paintings, because William is a very talented painter. Even lady men here might agree that William painted wonderful paintings in her garden. She's not even going to say anything about that.
I love William's paintings.
She loves William's paintings. That's nice of her to say. That's one nice thing that she said today. So there we go. Right. Anyway, no. Neil and Christine Hamilton, absolutely fabulous people who have been so supportive and kind. And I do thank them for their kindness and generosity. They're lovely people. So there we are. Will I go and see Ozzy Osbourne's last show? I've never met Ozzy Osbourne, but I have met Sharon. Sharon is great fun. He tried to murder her once at the house in Buckinghamshire. All sorts of bizarre things have gone on with those two. On those two. Well, it was the house in Buckinghamshire. I'm getting chatter in the background, but it was the house in Buckinghamshire, which I know an awful lot about this house, because this house was also owned by all sorts of other funny people. And I did write about it. It was owned by that man called Kilroy, Robert Kilroy Silk. He was a Labour MP, and then he tried to have his own party. He was a complete nutcase. He had a talk show. It was his house after them, and somebody else. Oh, and somebody else famous. I think it could have been. It wasn't Laurence Olivier. It could have been, but it was somebody of that time. Anyway, doesn't matter. But this strange house, and I read all about the thing, and then I saw the pictures of the bedroom where he tried to murder her. And now, most recently, it ended up owned by an Arab who didn't bother to fix the roof, so it leaked. And then it got wrecked. So it's a complete load of rubbish. But there we go. Chalfont St. Giles is the location. I can't remember the name of the building. But there we go. There's another weird story that I've been following for years. Right. The Osborne's house is haunted. They live in a house called Welder's Green House, if I recall correctly. I may be wrong. I could be completely wrong. I think that's their address, because I did meet Sharon Osbourne, and I had some correspondence with her, and I have like this weird photographic memory for certain things. I cannot remember a number. If you ask me what is 24 plus 22, oh dear, I think we could be. The camera is going wrong here. There's something wrong with the internet. But no, if you ask me what's 24 plus 22 plus 36, come back to me in 5 years, because I can't do that. If you ask me about words, I can tell you anything about words. I'm numerically what's called dyslexic. Words I can do, but no numbers. I don't know what 1 plus 1 plus 5 is. It's a terrible thing. Firefox claims it crashed. Okay, so it's not my fault. It was Firefox. I do apologize. When's the ghost night? That's on the 13th. I'll happily do a whole program on ghosts on the 13th. I'll talk about my ghostly experiences at my childhood home and the strange people who were involved in those stories. Yes, and you can talk about whatever ghost story you want on the 13th. We'll do a little bit of a variant for a change. No, it's not next Thursday. It's on this Thursday, the 13th. But I could be wrong. Yes, it's Welder's Lane. Yes, says Lee Fern. Yes, it's Welder's Greenhouse. Yes. I was completely right. I do remember these. You see, I can remember weird things. I have this ability to remember nonsense like that. But you give me a number, I can't remember the number, but I can remember a word. If I go to a place, I can guarantee you, once I've been once, I don't need a map to get back there. I can get back to a place. I have this odd, strange ability, but I can't deal with anything that is numerical. If you tell me, write down a series of numbers, I just go blank because I can't deal with it. I can't look at it and understand it. I am totally unable to understand numbers, but I can do anything to do with words, locations, anything like that. If you give me a location and said drive there, and I'd driven there 5 years ago, I'd be able to get there because I remember landmarks. I have that thing about that as well. Some of you probably have others, so please tell me what you have. It'd be very interesting to hear what kind of weird quirks do you have to your personality. I think that's interesting. What are my thoughts on Tony Blair? I think Tony Blair was one of the greatest prime ministers ever, following Margaret. He did a great job. His war was a total disgrace. It was not planned correctly. But as a peacetime leader, he did a great job. People prospered under him. Everything since has been a total bloody disaster. What have we had since him? A load of old jokers. We've got moaning Rishi Sunak, who's crying about, I shouldn't have said stop the boats. He's a pathetic specimen. We've got Theresa May, who just, there are boys' jobs and girls' jobs. We've had Gordon Brown, he sold the gold. We've had Liz the Lettuce. She's the worst, 49-day woman, rotten old lettuce woman. She's an absolute piece of scum. We've had Boris Johnson, the buffoon, the COVID crisis creep, the old, how many children by how many women. We don't even know how many children he's got. Revolting. We've had David Cameron, the Brexit bore, the absolute coward who walked away. Pathetic, boring little man. We've had, who else have we had? We've had the one-eyed monster, what was his name? Gordon Brown. I was going to say Gordon Blair, but Gordon Brown. He's awful. What have we had? Tony Blair. He speaks a lot of sense, the man. I agree. He's a profiteer. He's selfish, but he changed the world. He changed the Labour Party. He made the Labour Party electable. He wasn't Neil Kinnock. And I've met Neil Kinnock on many an occasion. Lord Kinnock is a complete waste of space. He's a complete Welsh drip. The man was useless. He held a victory party before he'd won. And the Sun rightly put out the headline, "Will the last person to leave Britain turn the lights out?" The man was a moron. John Smith would have been probably a good Labour Party leader. Keir Starmer, the farmer harmer, I hate and detest him. And I actually don't use the word hate often, but I am growing to hate this man for what he's doing to farmers. You never attack a farmer and leave the pensioners alone. And there was some idiot on Twitter banging on, oh, well, no pensioners died because of his £200 fuel tax reduction. Yeah, but they had to sit there with bloody blankets all over themselves, didn't they? Shame on him. Why do you attack two small minorities? If you want to go after money, there was this creep, James Dyson, the Hoover creep. the man who owns most of British farming now. He is. He came on and said British farmers should not be given subsidies. He said, "Oh, farmers should not be subsidized. We should have a fair agreement." Well, if British farmers are not subsidized, how will they compete with American farmers who are subsidized, European farmers who are subsidized? How will there be any kind of competition? The removal of the subsidy to farmers are the guardians of our countryside. And Dyson may be buying up all this land, but why are you buying up all this land, Dyson? You're not a nice man. You're not like Jeremy Clarkson, who's being the voice of the hero of the community, and you're actually doing good for the farmer. You are a complete cretin. Shame on you, Dyson. You are a man who is you supported Brexit, but you are a tax exile, and you moved all your production to foreign lands. So you don't support Britain. You've got no interest in Britain, Dyson, and your awful wife and a stupid carpet shop, Deirdre, on your New King's Road, the horrible carpet shop. Who'd want to buy a effing carpet from your ghastly thing and support you? You, Dyson, should be ashamed of yourself. You have made a fortune, and then you go on the program Farming Today on Radio 4, and you speak out, and you have a proper old pop at all the other farmers who have to live. Do you know how much a farmer earns on average? It's £14,000 for a hill farmer. A hill farmer, the highest rate of suicide in Britain amongst the male population is a hill farmer. You don't buy hill farms, you buy huge, grand pieces of land. You are one of the biggest landowners in Britain now. You buy arable crops, huge areas, which are nothing to do with these poor hill farmers. The hill farmers create the countryside of the Lake District that we all love, the Yorkshire Dales, the North York Moors, whatever. You, Dyson, would never buy one of those farms because you just want to profiteer. You're a greedy bastard. You're an absolute piece of shit. I don't like you, Dyson, and I don't like your bloody Hoover. And your Hoover was a load of rubbish, and you are a load of rubbish. And you went on about Brexit, and you wouldn't even answer the question on Radio 4, would you? You ran away from that little question. You were the biggest supporter of Brexit, but you are a tax exile. You're a coward. Absolutely appalling. There we go. What do I think of Michael Portillo? Will he have made a good leader? Yes, I like Michael very much. Lovely man. He's a bit bonkers, but he likes colourful clothes like me. But he loved the railway programs are lovely, and he became a likable person after he left politics. But Michael was always very pleasant to me. Nice man. Every time I see him, very pleasant. Last time, Masterpiece Art Fair, I think I saw him, which sadly closed down because of the dreaded COVID. So I haven't seen him in 5 years. And I cannot believe it's 5 years since that, but there we go. No, Michael Portillo could have been a good prime minister. So could have Michael Heseltine. And so could Ken Clarke. And I love Ken Clarke. Ken Clarke is one of my favorite politicians. I was very proud to work on his campaigns. I worked with him, and I did work for William Hague. My views on his views have slightly changed, but in 1997 when I worked with him, I thought he was quite rational, but he gradually went a bit too right-wing for me. But then he became a little bit more sensible, so I don't know what's going on with him, but I don't think he would have ever been a great prime minister. But Kenneth Clarke could have been. John Major was, well, a little odd, I will say. He didn't expect to be there, and coming after Margaret Thatcher, you're bound to be the wet cloth, aren't you? Because Margaret was so great, you can't really get anywhere, can you? Because you're after a woman who changed the world, the Iron Lady. We'll come to a thing about the Iron Lady in my quiz shortly, which will prove to you that the Iron Lady was a very different kind of person to all of this lot. There we go. So, right. Right. You loved Ken Clark. Rory Stewart seems nice. Well, Rory Stewart was an amazing politician, also a great MP, someone who worked with the royal family, someone who was in the military. I think Rory Stewart is a good person. Right, you're going out dancing now, says High Voltage. Oh, well, put your dark ballet shoes on. There we go. On the job with what? Meryl Streep. Oh, the Iron Lady. Meryl Streep was the Iron Lady. No, I went to a showing of that particular film. It wasn't to my liking. No, not a fan. What do I think of David Starkey? He comes from Kendal in the Lake District. He's the son of a cobbler, and he may as well cobble off. Awful. Not a fan of David Starkey, no. What was it about the Iron Lady you didn't like the film? The way they portrayed Margaret Thatcher as having dementia, because she didn't in that way. She did not go wandering around looking for a pint of milk. That never happened. Don't try and portray this lady, this great lady who saved the modern world, as being a lunatic, because she wasn't. And it was very offensive that, she went wandering off to a supermarket. Never happened. Don't fake stories about a real life person who was still living at that time. That was very, very, very wrong. It was sick. I didn't like it. You couldn't stand Ian Duncan Smith, says Mr. Mann. Well, I worked for the rival campaign, Ken Clark, so yeah, I couldn't stand Ian Duncan Smith. Ian Duncan Smith called himself the quiet man, and he said he would be turning off the volume. Him and his wife, Betsy. What a shame they just didn't do it earlier. They're a pair of pests. Right. So there we go. I don't have any more to say about those kind of people. Anyway, now I think it's time for me to talk about one of my issues of the day, which is a woman who uses multiple names. She does have multiple names. Her name is Sarah Kellen. So Sarah, sloppy seconds Sarah, and she definitely is the sloppy seconds in the story. She's second only to Ghislaine Maxwell, but she is a vile, horrible woman. It is time that Sarah Kellen was brought to justice, in my view. She's 45 years old now. Sarah was the personal assistant of Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know how much you know about Sarah, but Sarah Kellen is a very, very warped of mind woman. She's not a lady, and I will not call her a lady because she's filth. She's scum. And she can hide behind her new name that she's using, which is Sarah Kensington. And I had a look at Sarah Kensington. Yes, I found quite a few things about dear old Sarah, and I shall read them to you shortly. She's now married to a NASCAR driver called Brian Vickers. He is an investor. She claims now to be an interior decorator. If you need your house decorating, do not hire Sarah Kensington. Sarah Kensington is an evil, 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 evil piece of toe rag. She was the recruiter of girls for Jeffrey Epstein. And the released documents, which I've already seen years ago, have been referred to again today by the Daily Mail, particularly. $21,000 were left, which we don't know who found the $21,000, but in these documents, $21,000 in certain notes, and every note is described. I'm not going to bore you with each note, $5, $50, $100, whatever. $21,000 were in envelopes marked for Sarah Kellen from Epstein's properties. So Sarah she's a bit of a little she's a bit of a clever little girl when it comes to getting cash. But why is all this money being found all these years later at that time? That is an interesting thing from the documents. I'd never thought about it before. So that is a good point. Why was this money still in the envelopes with her name on it? Because when it was found, it was found. It wasn't planted. It had her name on it. So Sarah, the lovely Sarah, the assistant and a procurer of girls, allegedly, is in a very curious place, isn't she now? So Sarah was accused by victims of arranging the massages, so i.e. bringing in the young people, and escorting the girls to the room where they were then abused. So she didn't do it once. Look, if she did it once, this little wench could have a pass, because she wouldn't have known, would she? If the first time you did it, you might have thought, oh dear, I'm just doing my job. I'm a secretary. I'll do as I'm told. No. But this little fraud, this little fruitcake, was given immunity during the first trial of Jeffrey Epstein, 2008, even though they had envelopes marked with her name on it and this $21,000 in cash. Why did she never face charges in 2008? Why was she given this immunity in 2008 when she was there with envelopes that they have? They had those envelopes then. The lawyers for the victims say she saw herself as the boss. Judge Sarah Nathan, who was, of course, involved in one of the trials, says she was a knowing participant who was criminally responsible. I think that she is more culpable than most because she was closest in age to the victims. She was younger than Maxwell, so she took in people her own age to be abused. This is a woman who flew on Epstein's private plane, the Lita Express. You won't believe this. It wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it wasn't 100 times, it wasn't 200 times, it wasn't 300 times. She flew on Epstein's private jet a grand total of over 350 times. This woman was the center of the abuse. She should be prosecuted. How can Ghislaine Maxwell be the only person guilty of sex trafficking when we don't know the victims? Ghislaine did not operate alone, and this woman was second in command. Sarah Kellen, who calls herself Sarah Kensington, and I'm going to read out to you something I've found that nobody else probably has found yet because the Daily Mail did not mention it about her. I'll read it out to you now. Why not? Let's go straight for it. Sarah Kensington now, as she calls herself, her name is not Sarah Kensington. She's got nothing to do with Kensington, but I don't know why. Sarah Kensington, owner of SLK Designs LLC, offers a number of interior design expertise. She can't actually even spell or put a sentence together. She's worse than the village idiot. Her talents are well known. Well, I think we know what her talents are, and wanted around the world. Really? She's wanted. Well, I say she should be wanted by the FBI. If the FBI are listening, lock her up. Sarah is currently working on renovating corporate apartments in New York. Yes, well, we know that Jeffrey lived in Lenox Hill and Ghislaine had her house there, as well as a few projects in the Caribbean. Well, we know he had the Pedophile Islands, so yep, she loves it there. And Paris. Well, guess what? Jeffrey had an apartment in Paris, photographed there with guess who? The new ambassador to the United States of America, Jeffrey Epstein. Paris. Sarah loves anything that has to do with fashion. Really? Delicious food. Well, photography, travel, and anything related to design. Housewares, it is still in brackets, interior design, art, and architecture. Although she doesn't have much time for it these days, Sarah enjoys working with clay and painting. Well, Jeffrey loved a painting of, Bill Clinton dressed up as a woman. Was she involved in that? When Sarah gets the time away from her busy career, she enjoys traveling the world. She has visited a number of different places. Of course she has, courtesy of Jeffrey, including Bali, China, Japan, Russia, Cuba, Australia, Belize, Brazil, Colombia, France, Italy. Well, we know what went on in France and Italy with the little yacht with Naomi Campbell. There's another old bitch. England, the Middle East. Well, we know what went on in England, Prince Andrew. Israel, Africa, and all over the United States. And then she throws in a little extra just for good measure, this creep. Reading is another of the favorite pastimes that Sarah enjoys. Oh, she can read, can old Sarah. I don't think she can read the room. You are an absolute horror, woman. She is currently reading Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. I can't say I've read Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. I don't know what it is. I'll have to look it up. Her favorite book, anyone who uses the word favorite is ridiculous, is Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, and The Fountainhead. Sarah is a lover of classic novels such as Dracula, The Hobbit, and Sherlock Holmes. Well, she's definitely a bit of a Dracula herself. Sherlock Holmes should have dealt with her. There we go. So I have managed to find this little rat because she's using a pseudonym. This woman was chief number 2 to Jeffrey Epstein in terms of recruiting. This woman needs to be brought in. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, man up, grow up, show up. You know, all your super fans, and especially you, Elon Musk, you always said, release the Epstein lists. Here is the person you need to bring in. She's called Sarah Kensington. That is her fake name. She isn't called Sarah Kensington because her real name is Sarah Vickers. She lives in Soho, in a $5.3 million penthouse she bought in 2007. Come on, go and have that woman arrested. Arrest her. This creep, Sarah Kellen is not Sarah Kellen now. She is Sarah Kensington, is one of her names. And she's got a Facebook page for her business, Sarah Kensington. She's got nothing to do with Kensington, London. She operates an interior decoration business. Let's bring this bitch in. This bitch has ruined so many people's lives. So let me tell you what some of her victims had to say. One victim said, she was mentioned 81 times in the prosecution case, but was never forced to give testimony in Ghislaine Maxwell's court case. 81 times, and they didn't even drag her in? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely appalling. You know, she flew 350 times on the yacht, on the plane. Sorry, if you've been on 350 times on the plane whilst he was abusing people, on at least one occasion out of 350, you might have seen something. Don't pretend that you, on a small private jet, you'd have not noticed something. But you were on it 350 times. Donald was on it, a few times, but that's another story. And Sarah Ransom, a victim who is a perfectly legitimate spokesperson for the victims, rightly said, it was Ghislaine Maxwell and Sarah Kellen that showed me how to please Jeffrey. She is there at the top of the tree. This woman is part of the whole bloody dialogue. It is disgusting that this creep hasn't been arrested. She was the second to Ghislaine. And I've talked about Sarah Kellen before, but today I found her website, her new name, Sarah Kensington, and she's married to this NASCAR driver. But how on earth does she afford to live in this $5.3 million penthouse when there's $21,000 of money she didn't even bother to pick up? Who gave her this money? How did she afford it? She claimed she was raped by Epstein. She is a right old whinger and a whiner. My notepad, I will now find the other one. She said, I am a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. I was raped and abused weekly. Why were you always smiling in the photographs with Ghislaine and Epstein? Why did you travel the world with them 350 times? Why do all the other victims say that you ruined their lives? You were never prosecuted. You're a shameful piece of rubbish. Your own parents have turned on you. Your own parents, you shameful bitch. They said she was groomed and manipulated after growing up in a devout religious household, and then she fell out with them. What a horrible, horrible woman. Yes, 350% you're involved. Yes. Well said, the Blue Nomad. Sorry, I haven't been looking at your comments because I've been too busy reading my pieces of paper. You see, I'm not very good with technology. I can't do this, and it's very dark, and I can't really see. So that's the big problem. Right. You're surprised Ghislaine didn't drop any names. Ghislaine doesn't drop names because Ghislaine is an arrogant lunatic. Ghislaine has no sense of logic. Ghislaine believes that all these people are still her friends. Ghislaine is mental. She's unhinged. Ghislaine is what you'd call a lunatic. So Ghislaine probably thinks that Donald Trump is going to give her a pardon. Donald Trump would probably rather eat wasps, snails, and paving stones than even think about her, like he had made his comments about Prince Harry and his wife. He doesn't want to stir the honeypot that's going to cause him any trouble, because he doesn't want to row with the British royal family. With them, I mean, in this case, he doesn't want people going on about why was he ever on Epstein's plane. Why did he have Epstein and Ghislaine at Mar-a-Lago? All that. There's lots of silly things that could be asked. It's not suitable to Trump. But there we go. That's my answer. The truth will out at the Steeple Times. Well, I keep digging. As Seamus Heaney would say, I have a stick and I'll keep digging with it, or whatever he said. I can't remember the exact line from the poetry. My school teacher would be most cross with me for not remembering the line, but I have a something and I'll dig with it. I have a pen and I'll dig with it. Yes, that's it. I'll have a pen and I'll dig with it. And that's what I keep doing with regard to Ghislaine. And I keep finding things. And today I found Sarah Kensington. I didn't expect to find Sarah Kensington. But the woman is a complete loon. There's no way there's no way of contacting her. She won't respond. But yes, I've got my pen. I'll fight with my pen, not with a sword, says the Blue Nomad. Seamus Heaney, yes. Did I ever meet Hugh Edwards? No, I've never met Hugh Edwards. No, nothing. Nothing will happen to Sarah unless a lot of people start to complain and to the lawmakers. Well, there we go. You're like a bloodhound on a trail. Well, I don't give up. No. Once I start, no. Ghislaine, I began on 2019. So it's been 6 years I've been on Ghislaine. Stuart Lubbock, all these things, I just keep going. I don't give up on anything once I start. No, I'm a very dedicated campaigner. And who knows where I'm going to end up next. I think I'm going to Scotland. That's where I want to go. And I'd like to see what happens there. Because of this stupid Brexit, I can't go to other places. It limits us. But you'd like me to make a documentary about Maxwell? Well, I am trying to make a documentary about O'May's, the housing thing. I have been in touch with a producer, and also the other kind of crooked property scams. I'm trying to make that into a program. I'd like to do a program on those topics. Ghislaine, I think there's been an awful lot of programs about Ghislaine. My book about Ghislaine is just not ready. I've not reached the end of the saga because my book is Follow the Money. I want to know where the 500 million that her father stole went. I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein and her were the biggest scammers on the planet in that regard. Nobody else has looked into that in the way that I have, and that's what I'm interested in. So Ghislaine has got to wait with me, but she's not leaving prison anytime soon. Ghislaine will never give me an interview because, of course, she hates me, and her little PR peddler, Brian Basham, hates me more than anyone else. He's a right old rat. The dirty tricks man from British Airways. Lovely little character he is. Right. Did I ever meet Roger Cook? No, I never met Roger Cook. I believe he did a lot of good work. I think there were a few controversies, but there we go. Where's Harriet? I don't know where Harriet is. You need Donald Trump in the UK tonight, says Expialidocious. Doge. Oh, do you mean you need what's his name? Tesla man. Right, okay. Right. Okay. Right. Come to Aberdeenshire. It'd be nice to visit Aberdeenshire. I don't know anything about Aberdeenshire. I've never been there. So there we go. Do I think any of the very high status men will be ever prosecutors as they took part in the vile acts? Asks Jane. It could be possible. But I don't know. I don't know yet. Right. Socio Mario is here. Right. Socio Mario. Hello. Right. We need someone to investigate the waste of money by the government in the UK. Right. Okay. Well, yes, we do. Right. Anyway, so I've given you some thoughts on that particular topic. We have been going for 1 hour and 45, so I think maybe now is the time for this quiz, but I don't think I've got anyone to help me. If someone wants to help with this quiz, you could do it. If not, we won't bother. Let's see if someone's agreeable to help with the quiz. Someone has to take notes of the points. We need somebody who can take notes of the points. Anybody? Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody available? If you want to do the quiz, we need well, I can do it by myself, but right. As for the questions about someone else, no, we're not going to go there. That's where I feel on that topic. Right. Jake Wivy has a feeling about Terramar. Yes, Ghislaine was a submarine pilot, yes. So, but I don't think there's any grand conspiracy. I think that the islands are just... Once those poor women were there was no way out. They couldn't escape because of the sharks. One of them tried to swim away, and that wasn't a very good idea. Yep, they were children. Yes, some of them were very young, and he had hundreds of victims, and well, she was convicted of others. So let's be honest, Miss Maxwell, a woman who never married, weirdly. Very odd, that. Nobody wanted to marry her. That's a very strange thing, isn't it, about Ghislaine? She never got married. This socially ambitious woman never found a husband. There was another man, very rich, of course, because she only liked rich people. There was the stupid man who was on Sean Atwood's program, who I did warn Sean Atwood was a stupid man who claimed he was um, her body security guard, and he'd had relations with her. No, she only liked rich people. She didn't have any time for anybody who was poor. I've never understood that. In life, spice is the variety. It's always lovely to be with people who come from different backgrounds. So I had a friend, Arthur, who ran Arthur's Cafe. He was an East End guy. Simple man from the East End. Arthur, who was son of Arthur, who was son of Arthur. Simple. Decent East End family. And then I have friends who are like my friend Princess Katerina of Yugoslavia. She's a lovely lady. Cousin of Greece. She's the cousin of Prince Philip. So I like to have a variety in life. Life is full of spice if you have variety, and that is a lovely thing to have. Ghislaine didn't like that. Ghislaine only liked rich people. Ghislaine viewed those girls to be trash, and she said to them, they're just trash. She said to the people around her, "Oh, those trash girls, they're just after, so I don't have to be abused myself." She had the same mentality as that awful woman, Kitty Menendez, who allowed her sons to be abused so she didn't have to be. Kitty Menendez and Ghislaine are very similar women, spoilt bitches, a pair of horrible people. Now, Kitty Menendez did not deserve to be murdered by her children, and they regret murdering their mother, but their mother sacrificed her own children so she didn't have to be abused. That's not a very nice thing to do, is it? So I actually compare Kitty Menendez and Ghislaine Maxwell. There we go. Has anyone thought about that in the past? Yes, evil, precisely. Two evil women. Two very, very evil women. What did I think of the disaster today with the ships? Well, it sounds like a complete load of nonsense, made a mess. People should plot their courses a bit better, shouldn't they? What else can I say? Who was the man she lived with when she was found? Ghislaine was found at a house called Tucked Away. She had been living with a man who she was married to called Scott Borgerison. He has since divorced her. None of her family knew that she was even married to Scott Borgerison, and he's taken up with a yoga teacher and who was into. She called herself a bit of a sex bomb and whatever else, and she and he. No one knows what's become of them since, but the divorce was, rather a big case. So there we go. No, but why wasn't she married is what I'm saying in the public arena. Ghislaine privately married a man who was a nobody. He was a absolute pointless piece of rubbish. She never had a big public wedding like her friends, the Clintons, the Trumps, all the rest of them, Prince Andrew. Ghislaine chose to have a hidden marriage. And then as soon as this all kicked off, he got rid of her. He binned her. So there's no real marriage there. It's a complete sham. The sham marriage is a load of rubbish. Tucked Away was the name of the house. Yes. It was a sneaky marriage. Do I know any Blenkinsop sauce candy? I don't know who Blenkinsop is. Sorry. Can't answer that one. Selective was Miss Maxwell. Yes, she didn't tell anybody about this wedding. So really, this marriage was a complete secret to the world. Maxwell was a moped. Yes, she was worse than the village bike. Yes, she was the village moped. Yes, I can agree with you there. Right. Anyway. Right. So we'll try doing this quiz without anyone else helping me because I can't do it any other way. And if you'd like, Sky Vodka's events in San Francisco were fun. I remember you. Well, hello, Elizabeth. It's lovely to hear from somebody from all those years ago, Elizabeth. So, yeah, I did spend a lot of time with Sky Vodka in San Francisco. I had wonderful times, and there we go. So, right. Right. If we're going to do this quiz, nobody is prepared to help. Right. So I'll have to write down the answer, the people who answered myself, because I can't do it any other way. With this awful light, it's terrible. I do apologize, but I do have this situation here. What is the nickname farmers have coined for Rachel Reeves? That is your first question. There are 20 questions. There are 20. What is the nickname farmers have coined for Rachel Reeves? What is the nickname for Rachel Reeves? Please give me an answer to the question. The Blue Nomad, you can have it with Thieves. Yes, she's known as the Queen of Thieves. The Queen of Thieves. Elizabeth says Tosca was great. Cheers. Well, Elizabeth, it's so lovely to hear from you. It must be back in maybe 2004 that I probably last saw you. So, what a wonderful person to hear from. It's 21 years ago. Absolutely delightful, Elizabeth. Are you still living in San Francisco, Elizabeth? Because I would love to come and visit. And now, the dreaded Maurice is gone. I would love to come and visit Marjorie Munson and the likes of Tosca, which is obviously not owned by Jeanette Etheridge anymore, because Jeanette, I believe, sold it, sadly. I don't know where Jeanette is now, but Jeanette was absolutely the best. She's a lovely lady, and she ran one of the best bars you could imagine. It would be fabulous to come back to see you again. And Elizabeth, thank you for stopping in. You're an amazing arrival I didn't expect to hear from. So you remember me from all those days ago. And the San Francisco Film Festival, I'm very much in touch with some of the people who used to run the film festival. And it was one of the best film festivals in the world. And we had some amazing films there, some amazing parties, and some wonderful times. Anyway, I'll get back to my quiz. What is the name of the Duchess of Sussex's mother? What is her name? Right, there's your next question. The Blue Nomad doesn't have a pen, but the Blue Nomad has 1 point. Well, I wanted the full name, so Jane Hennessy got the first name, and so did Daniel and Pip. But Joyce Grove got the whole lot, so I'll go with Joyce Grove on this one. It is Doria Ragland. We need the full name. If we ask for a name, we ask for the full name, not the hose down bit. Okay. I need another drink. I've had a very stressful day. I sound like Jack Rolfe from Howard's Way. There we go. I've only got a tiny bit of water. No one else is helping me. There we go. What name was Winston Churchill vetoed from giving to a battleship by the royal family? What was the name of the battleship he wanted to name? It wasn't Doria. No, what name did he want to give to a? It wasn't Elizabeth, it wasn't Cilla Black, and it wasn't Bob. No, it wasn't Edward. It wasn't Queen Elizabeth. It wasn't Clementine. That was the name of his wife. It wasn't Adolf, so he didn't want to call it Hitler. No. It wasn't the Princess of Wales. You're sure it wasn't Bob? It wasn't the Jimmy Savile? No. No. Well, the Savile, you're saying, but you're spelling Savile with 2 L's. Jimmy Savile's with 1. It wasn't Great Britain. My goodness, you're not very good at this question. It wasn't Jimmy Savile OBE. It wasn't the Bibby Stockholm, and it wasn't Michael Barrymore. No, it was nothing to do with him. It wasn't Nazi strike. It wasn't the Bismarck. It wasn't Big Ben. Okay, none of you get the point, so 0 points awarded. Actually, no, we've just had someone come in. TMTB. It was Cromwell. They did not want a boat called the Cromwell because Cromwell, of course, tried to get rid of the royal family. Something I learned this morning on a wonderful Radio 4 show. So thank you ever so much for that information. Who famously once said, "We have become a grandmother"? We have, which was a bit of an arrogant thing to say, as much as I love this person. Who once said, "We have become"? Joyce gets the 2nd point, taking Joyce into the lead. It was Margaret Thatcher. To use the words "we have become," that's when she got a bit carried away with herself. Absolutely ridiculous. What is the name of the housing estate built most recently in the Archers? So what is the housing estate that's flooded with sewage in the Archers? What is its name? Miss Marple gets the point immediately. You're obviously an Archers addict. It is Beechwood. Beechwood has been flooded with toxic sewage and poo. Disgusting. And they keep going on and on about it, and I think the story is a little bit boring. I've had enough of the story. Which tree's fruits does Alan Titchmarsh believe to be destroying the planet? Which tree's fruits? It's not apples, no. Alan Titchmarsh doesn't like these fruits, and he would rather say there's a lot to say for eating Weetabix. The first of it's not oaks, it's not apples, it's not the sycamore, it's not the pear. Claudia G gets the point. Alan Titchmarsh hates avocados. There we go. So there we go. That's what he announced today. Which supposed friend of Ghislaine Maxwell became Prime Minister Designate of Canada on the 9th of March, yesterday, the 2025? Which friend of Ghislaine became Prime Minister of Canada? It was not Trudeau. No, he left. Miss Marple, you got it wrong. Django Lisa, so Lisa, yes, we like you, Lisa. We know you from days of old. You get the point. It was Mark Carney. But I would prefer that all of you doing this in the future, I want the full name. I don't want, I think we can make it easier so you don't all start complaining. You have to give the full name, not just the surname or the Christian name. I want the full name. Right. Going forward, we have the full name. Right. What was the nickname of the plastic, not fantastic Jocelyn Wildenstein, whose boyfriend today, it was revealed, got $100 million? Miss Marple gets a second point. It was Catwoman, yes. So the horrible Jocelyn Wildenstein's disgusting boyfriend, Lloyd Klein, who I've had a row with on the phone on one occasion. He's a complete nutter. He got $100 million today because she arranged a shifty little insurance payout, even though she was verging on bankrupt. So how that worked out, God only knows. He's living in a very smart flat in Paris, allegedly. But we will see what happens next. And I can tell you this. There'll be more to this story than meets the eye, and the Wilden-style children will go after this creep. And I hope, Lloyd Klein, I hope they throw the book at you, mate. Right. What is the name of the noise that racegoers make at the Cheltenham Festival, which begins tomorrow? The Cheltenham Festival, which begins tomorrow, which is the most wonderful event in horse racing, far superior to Royal Ascot. It's the place where real horse racing people go. It's not the whoop. It's not the room. What is the name of the noise they make? It's not the rah, no, but you're near. It's not the neigh. It's not the clip clop. Right. I can't believe it. It's not the klaxon. It's not the hurrah. It's not come on, and it's not neigh. You don't know the noise people make at the Cheltenham Festival? This is utterly shocking. I can't believe I have an audience so utterly out of touch. It's not the whinny. No, it's not the neigh. It's not hear, hear. What is the noise people make at Cheltenham Festival? MT is the winner. It's the Cheltenham roar. People go, roar! It's the Cheltenham roar. It's a very famous noise. So I'm very shocked that you don't know this. I am very disappointed in all of you. I think all of you need to go back to education and find some kind of future. Because if you don't know, we will continue. I think we're all still here. There's over, a lot of you here. So, right, we were up to the Cheltenham Roar. I said, in what year was the British rock band Coldplay formed? What year was Coldplay formed? Claire Louise wins the point. 1997. Well done to Claire Louise. You're a new entrant, Claire Louise. Thank you very much to Claire Louise. I went on tour with I went on the tour bus with friends of mine, with Chris Martin and Gwyneth. It was a lovely experience. I enjoyed it very much. So I do love a bit of Coldplay. I'm a big fan of Coldplay. Great people. Absolutely wonderful. Nobody here is helping me with anything, but there we go. No, I'm not getting any help. No, there we go. In which year did Lady Bamford, commonly known as Lady Dorset Manuel, airline hostess woman, establish Dalesford Organic? Which year was that established in? Dalesford Organic. What year was it established in? It wasn't 1998, and there we go. It wasn't 1999. It wasn't Frozen. It wasn't 2001. It wasn't 2096, because obviously that wouldn't have not arrived yet. It wasn't 1969. It wasn't 1890. It wasn't 2006. So you don't know much about Lady Bamford and Dalesford, but I can't blame you, really. The woman's overpriced shop is... no, it wasn't 1994, 2016. It wasn't 2006. No, you don't know. Not 1994. It wasn't 2022. Right. Okay. You don't know that one, so we'll discount that one from the thing. The answer was 2002. No, no points to any of you. You did not answer the question. So that's two questions you failed on, all of you. So you really are the weakest links. And if I were Anne Robinson, I'd say goodbye to the lot of you. Right. Which Liberal Democrat peer brought Domino's Pizza to the UK and co-owned Watford Football Club with Elton John? What is the name of the peer? What is the name of the man who was Domino's Pizza in the UK and Watford Football Club with Elton John? It wasn't Pedo Prince Andy Pandy. It wasn't Paddy Ashdown, no. You're all on the naughty step, says Miss Marple. Well, you're not quite there yet. Right, so nobody knows the answer to my... I do find you some questions that challenge you, so come on. Some of you must know the answer to this simple question. The man has been in the media today. It's a very easy question. It's not Cyril Smith. No. He was a paedophile. This man is not a paedophile. This man brought Domino's Pizza to the UK and owned Watford Football Club with the rather revolting Elton John. It wasn't Keir Starmer. No, he's not a Liberal Democrat. Keir Starmer is not a Liberal Democrat peer, so you're misunderstanding the question. You don't know what a peer is, okay? Lord Verdi or something like that, says Miss Marple. Nope. Right, okay. His name is not Lord Verdi. It is not Vincent Cable, no. It's not Lee Anderson. He was never a Liberal Democrat. He's been Labour Conservative and Reform. It wasn't Gino the Pizza Man, no. No, it wasn't Gino de Campo, no. So, no. Right, well, it's obviously clear that you can't answer this question. It was a very simple question. The answer is Rumi Vergi. Rumi Vergi. So 0 points awarded yet again. So that's 3 questions that you can't answer. This is not very good. I really think some of you need to learn to try harder. Have I got any gossip on the Irish celebs? Asks James McGrook. I'll speak with my lovely friend Nicola Talent. I love the Sunday World. I love doing podcasts with her. She's one of the best. And then, she talks about all the, the Kilhallan, what they call Killahan crime families and, all that. And we talk about Sophie Toscan de Plantier, that poor woman that was murdered, the French woman who was murdered, and that weird English murderer, Ian Bailey, who's now dead, and his podcast, and all the other things that they talk about of the Irish crime families. I love the Irish story. The Irish, there's another place I could go and live. I'd love to live in Ireland, but I'm not an Irish citizen, so I can't. So I'd love to be there. I think the west coast of Ireland, absolutely beautiful. You go to County Cork, absolutely lovely. And I love Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland I can go to. Of course, maybe that's the place I should go as well. That's another option for me. But right, next question. Since you couldn't answer about a man who owns a football club with Elton John. Pathetic. I'm very disappointed in you all. Very disappointed indeed. Right. What does the initialism RBKC stand for? What is the RBKC meaning? What does RBKC mean? Right. Hello again. I'm very, 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 very sorry. The lighting in here is appalling. The connection is appalling. There is a torrential storm here, and I do apologize. So, this quiz is being absolutely ruined by the weather as well as the fact that we have no lighting. It's absolutely awful. Um, the winner of the last question was MT with, so you get 2 points. Now, it was the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. I do think that this quiz will be ruined again, but I will keep going as long as I can. Unfortunately, there is a major storm in this locality, and my quiz has been ruined. There we go. Right. My next question is: in which year did the Grenfell Tower disaster occur? I only need the year, I don't need the month. It was in June, but I'm not going to tell you. You know, it burned for 60 hours, 72 deaths. Electrical fault in the fridge caused it, and it was the cladding. It was not 2019. It wasn't 2024. MT gets a point, which takes MT into the league. It was 2017. And my heartfelt thoughts out to those poor, tragic souls who burnt to death because, you know, someone locked the doors of the fire escape. That was the most disgusting thing that happened on that night. Absolutely appalling. Absolutely appalling. And, you know, I'm very glad they're going to finally pull the building down. It's about time. They should build a memorial garden and just clear it up. You know, the place needs to be a place of rest because so many poor souls lost their lives for no good reason, all because of an idiot who bought a cheap fridge. So don't go out there buying cheap fridges because cheap fridges cost lives. Shameful. Right. What is the largest department store in Europe? My next question. What is the largest department store in Europe? This particular one is 1.1 million square foot of selling space, and it's got 5 acres on the ground. JV, no, you were not. You were beaten by Pipfield. Pipfield, you got it. The largest department store in Europe by size is Harrods. Yes, so you got the correct answer. Who is Rowan Atkinson most famous for playing? You have 2 options here, so whichever one you choose, I will allow. What was his most? Right, Miss Marple gets it first, so you get the point, taking you into joint first with Mr. Bean. It could have been Mr. Bean or Blackadder. So well done to you, Miss Marple. Right, the next question. Which Belgian writer was best known for creating the fictional detective Jules Maigret? Over 500 million copies sold. So who was that? The writer, no. Jake Wivy says, did you not see my answers? I see the answers in the order they come in on my screen, and that is the way I accept them. Miss Marple is the winner because she says Georges Simeon. Well done to Miss Marple, who is leading the way. I am not filtering any of you. I am just reading out in the order it comes up in my screen. So I do not change the order. This is a quiz. So I'm very sorry for you. If you think that you're being cheated, you're not. It wasn't Elizabeth Hurley, no. Which pint-sized Australian pop star was once barred from entry to Harrods due to her being considered inappropriately dressed? Others concerned were Jason Donovan, a scout troop, Luke Goss, and a woman with a Mohican. Right. It was Kylie Minogue. So Pipfield no. Oh gosh, you're all. Daniel Wildgoose gets the point. Daniel, well done. Daniel, you were the first, so you get the point. As I've said, it has to have the Christian name and the surname from now on. I'm not going to allow it without both names. So from tomorrow onwards, all names only. Which foreman? This is your penultimate question. Which former Syrian president's wife grew up in Acton, London? She happened to go to school with my friend, who was the daughter of Andrew Lloyd Webber. There we go. We need her name, the full name. I won't take anything other than the full name. So come on, if you want to do it, you've got to give me the full name. I've already given you the. I've given you the thing. It wasn't Basher. What was the name of this lady? It wasn't Assad Lloyd Webber. No. No, we need her name. I don't want his name. It wasn't Victoria Beckham and it wasn't Boris Johnson. No. So we need her name. You are getting the surname correct, but she has a name in her own right. She was the first lady of Syria. She does have a name in her own right. It wasn't Valerie. MT can have the point. Asma al-Assad. So we've now got two of you in joint with 4 each. So you've both done very well. Miss Marple and MT have managed to get 8 points out of the 19 on offer thus far. So our final question will have to be the jawbreaker between the two of you. If anyone else gets it, I will say, in fact, we can only have 2 people answer the next question. It has to be MT versus Miss Marple, because otherwise we can't have a winner. Otherwise, we have to have a tiebreaker. In fact, no, let's allow you to see who answers. In which state of America is the city of San Francisco located? In which city? Miss Marple says California. So Miss Marple is our winner. Well done to Miss Marple. You got 5 out of 20. 2 points were not, 2 questions were not answered. There we go. It's a trick question. No, it's not a trick question. Miss Marple is the winner. Well done to Miss Marple, because you got 5 points. And well done to MT, who got 4 points. And well done to all the rest of you who participated and joined in. So thank you. There we go. It's very nice to have all of you lovely people join in. So there we are. Happy days, and I hope you've done very well. It's been great to have you all for this quiz. Have you any more questions for me? Let's see. Let's return to questions. We've done enough of that, so do a bit more of this. The person in the background is not presently here, no, but will be coming back shortly. I don't need to explain why. How long will I stay in France? Probably not very long. Yes, it's time to go. Life has to resume in a different location, I think. There we go. Where's the next venue? God only knows. Right, so we could be here, there, or anywhere. Anyway, do I like electric cars? No, I'm not really into electric cars. I think the problem with electric cars is where do you charge the bloody things? Electric cars are a total nightmare and they're totally annoying. That's where I feel about those. So anyway, right. You like your Jaguar XJS. A Jaguar XJS is one of the most wonderful cars in the world. I've enjoyed driving Jaguar XJSs. They are superb motor vehicles. I love an XJS. A little bit, Howard's Way, a bit Jan Harvey, but bit of fun. Yeah, we love a Jaguar XJS. Most people do. Jaguar used to be great. Now they're a little rubbish. Yes, I will agree with you there. The Jaguar has declined in quality as a vehicle. It was like driving an armchair. Now you're very Howard's Way. Yes, I totally agree with you. Cult television. You're right. Howard's Way is one of the best TV shows on the planet. I love it. Have I seen the ridiculous pink one they showed today? I don't know what the pink one that was showed today is. Are we talking about Katie Price? She has a pink Range Rover. It's very offensive. Awful. Yep. Miss Marple says, God, sell it to Katie Price. See, even before I said it, Miss Marple's ahead of me. The new Jaguar. There's a pink Jaguar. No, I haven't seen it. No, there was an advert. They've got this woke Jaguar. Yes, but that was a few weeks ago. I thought you meant today. You said today. Right. Wasn't Howard's Way a series in the 1990s? Yes, it was, and I love Howard's Way. Jaguars should not be in pink, says Miss Marple. Totally agree with you, and nor should a Range Rover. But the dreaded Katie Pricey is she just lowers the tone of every little device she ever touches. So no, we don't like her. Pink cars should not be allowed on the road. They're offensive. I agree. We're not Barbie. Barbie is a load of old bollocks. So no, we don't want Barbie. Can't stand it. Not my kind of thing. She lowers the tone of everything. She's gross. Yes, I agree. Totally agree with you. Don't like her. Right. Okay. Right. The poor animals. Yes, she did kill the animals. It's absolutely disgusting what she did to the animals. She's a murderer of animals. Katie Price should be thrown in the clink. She's known as the skank to someone I know. She's a horrible, horrible, wicked woman, and she abuses animals, and it's disgusting. She doesn't look after them, and they get run out, and they run onto the road, and they get run over, and she can't even look after the poor boy with the blindness, and then she tries to use him to deal with her parking fines and this, that, and the other fines. She's sick in the head. The skank, Casey Price, needs to be dealt with. Lock her up. Throw away the key. Her and her little mate, that other snorter. What's her name? She's been playing something in a pantomime with some old slapper. Anyway, these two old slappers, they should be locked up. They shouldn't be allowed near children. They shouldn't be allowed near a parking ticket. It's absolutely outrageous. I totally agree. What's the name of the woman? I'm sure one of you in the audience will remember her. She's completely thick. She's completely like gravy, clotted cream, or whatever you want to call it. Kerry Katona. Yep. Those two are a disgrace and a stain on humanity. There we go. Howard's Way was filmed in Birmingham. There we go. Yes, well, I believe most of it was filmed in Birmingham, but there we are. That would be the indoor scenes. The scenes on the water were, of course, filmed in Lymington, Hampshire, and the pub scenes were filmed at the pub down there in the New Forest, and that's where Anyway, she keeps having children. Well, yeah, absolutely awful. She's a complete disgrace. I totally agree with you. The men are silly. Yes, the men were absolutely awful. Why on earth would you get involved with her? But those men thought that maybe they could make a bit of money out of the situation, I suppose. She's worse than the village bike. Absolutely disgusting, revolting. She's sick in the head. No thanks. So anyway, we've been going now for 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's time for me to go to sleep. I've had enough. I'm exhausted by various matters. I don't need any more. I will say thank you ever so much to you all. We will reconvene again soon. I don't know when, because I don't know where I'll be from tomorrow. I'm going to be on the road, perhaps. And I'll say good night, good gardening, take care. I wish you all well. I thank you all for all your kind support over the last few days. You've all been very, very pleasant at a time in my life which is very difficult. Things are changing in my life, and it's going to be hard with certain matters. But I don't go on about those things. I just want to say thank you because you've all been very pleasant, and I've enjoyed your company this evening. There's hundreds of you here, and it's absolutely great. Thank you. You've all been very, very, very nice. Now, I may not come back tomorrow because I don't know where I'll be or what I'll be doing, but I just want to say thank you. You've been wonderful and generous in your sentiments, and you might see me somewhere else next, see wherever I end up, but my future is unknown, but I have a situation to deal with, and I have to think about what's right for me. So that's what I shall do. I may be with you tomorrow. I may not. We'll see what happens wherever I end up. So I wish you all the best. I thank you all for your kind company. Take care. Good night. Good gardening. Have a lovely evening. And I hope to see you all again soon. I don't know when it'll be, but I'll be back at some point soon. Take care. Good night.